Anyways, yo, what's going on? This is just my personal point of view on the Kabbalah and things like that, as far as how I see the formation of it. You some people call it Kabbalah, some people call it the body, some people call it it's the imprint of it is pretty much everywhere. And so as these Egyptian people say, as above, so below. So in some kind of correspondence, in a lot of correspondence, supposedly, is that the body is a cosmic imprint already, a version, a mimic of what's already going on externally. So whatever is going on within you is a form of trying to take that and anthropomorphize it into some kind of characters where you can kind of, push out, act out, play out, and things like that. Where you take the energetical energy of cosmic shapes and forms and things like that with colors, ranges and spectrums as far as the different houses you can extract and use an organ in the form of and play that out externally in the form of an action and things like that. And so those things are also speculative in nature. So we make symbolism and keys for them so we can create a reference point to travel and remember that marking as far as a travel. But a travel is really, we play it out externally outside of us. Let's say we go to the north, to the east, the west, the north, as far as a physical direction, and we see these signs. Oh yeah, this way, this is north. Oh yeah, go this way. Like, you know what I'm saying? A lot of properties we don't really see. A lot of natural sites you might not really have access to, or you get like monetized or you monetize for it, whatever, and things like that. And so just like that, we play that externally. There's also an internal version of that, but now they take these external things and it's actually for internal things, intentions that are like below the horizon, things that you can't see, things that the shadow, where like they literally divided up God, and they just like like, okay, this is this is that, and that's not a bad thing either. And when I say God, I just mean like a system of, basically a phone system and interaction. You can call it 1 to 9, you can call it Sun to Pluto, you can call it 12, you can call it a lot of different, there's a lot of different sequences, there's a lot of different understandings as far as what I see. So first you have the sun, and in astrology the first house is Aries, but it's not even about the first house or the last house. Really, there's no even starting point, and we're just using that as a reference point for separation for the first time, things that was bright, things that was clear as far as the physical direction. So they kind of try to interpret it in some kind of internal direction. So with that being said, the sun basically, supposedly, your idea, your individuality. It's speculative, it's things that play out objectively, but it's also things that play out speculatively. So when I say that, I mean basically characteristics and attributes. So the sun having leadership, having individuality, being able to go things along your own way, you leading the charge, not you necessarily being a part of it in the back or relating. You might have different attributes on different percentage levels, and based on the elements, you might lean into certain let's just say cosmic waves that you radiate inside of your body, that you create because you're the alchemist, and you add or subtract the elements that you want. So it's a game of add, subtract, and not getting lost within the let's say the soul ties, the social agreements, whatever your contract is when you came to this realm in reality. And so when you're able to understand these things, you're able to use these things that have already been placed inside of you, but based on the external program, they demonize getting money, having prosperity, all that type of shit, just so individuals aren't even able to go for these things. And then you're wondering why a lot of people be broke. You're wondering why people in Africa be broke and all that type of shit. So I'm not saying religion is a bad thing necessarily, but it's always an anthropomorphization of what's already external. There's so many different ways to read it. It don't gotta be like, it could be a lot of different things to people. So sun having individuality, then the moon. So the sun's Aleph, the moon is Beth. The spark being received as far as what we call from here the moon, supposedly, and it plays out internally as well. So internally we have ideas, and then we have feelings, but the feelings stay longer, and the fire is like a pure fire almost. So it turns the water into gas, and you're able to make logical sense out of that as far as elementally, because air means logic, communication, that type of nature and things like that. And so it plays out physically, but it's always a sequence. You might have some whole different other type of shit. You might bring in some whole new other type of matter, some matter that can't even be sustained within this reality, but you may become a vessel for that in some way, shape, or form. And so yeah, the moon is like you being able to be relatable, you know, you having your feelings, you being able to relate to somebody else, being peaceful as far as your mental disposition, being relaxed and not being pulled in so much into the situation, sitting back and being able to have this resonance, you know what I'm saying? But this fluid information is able to, you know, give you a perspective on the situation, but it's not necessarily always good. So people tend to be too emotional, might do things that are so-called irrational. So when you see that, you start to make a correspondence between you just doing not something logical, not using your left brain, and you being too stuck into your feelings and things of that nature. So you play that. That's why basically there's a lot of feminized people, and so that trait is being you know, attacked, hammered down, you know, being told like, nah, that ain't right, fuck that. So they demonize us being able to play out those natures and things like that. But really, we just be lost, and we don't be understanding that the angels that they're drawing on those boards is really just an anthropomorphization of what we could do. So imagine if you're somebody who got good logic, good speech, you would go be a politician, you would go be in the government, you would be able to speak things into reality and things like that from a logical perspective, and you would be able to put in a certain position based on somebody understanding your own disposition and attributes and placing you within that or suggesting that. But that's not a role that the common peasant person can play. You could do it, but again, we all exchange things for prices and things like that, right? So it's not necessarily about good and bad. So that's also a thing, because I mean, shit, I'd be an advisor for a country, I'm not gonna lie, yo. Hit me up. But the point being is that once you're able to harness in that and play that out, you might be the new hardest version of it. Because when somebody else is trying to regurgitate their perspective, their point of view through their systemized agreement and own personal individual thought process, as far as a spirit group of a bloodline that vibrates on a similar frequency, but it's like a tree as well, right? Because if you ever watch Naruto, they had even their sons of the being that became whatever tyrannical or whatever Kaguya that were able to do rulership through power, or like Madara, or well, I mean, you know, their stories is deep actually, but the point is it's like different descendants of it, and it's not everybody's necessarily bad, but when you in your rulership like that, you got a strong system and things like that. So that's the logical aspect. But same thing with the emotions, you might get lost in logic way too fucking much. You might get way too lost in logic and not use your feelings, not be able to resonate. That's why even like an angel has to be like, logic is a good way to beat somebody's mind, because a lot of the people, sound is a very powerful way to send that signal. Imagine you were able to synchronize and shit. That'd be like a fucking ray, bro. That'd be like the colorful ray that you would just like shoot somebody with that shit. That's why like mind power is way more important than a fucking material shit. Material shit really is just a manifestation of the cosmic shit. Always some shit that's lighter in density, because everything got created from some form of pressure. Even like, you know, the diamonds, the earth, all that shit was just made through pressure, through winds. So that's why even like in the hydrogen colliders, basically they're trying to create matter, kind of antimatter, things that are further out, like new, like the shit. Like it gets deep with that shit, but everybody got access to that shit, but you just got to be able to tap in. So that's as far as logic, because logic is powerful and you can make sense out of feeling, but if you get too much lost in logic, then yeah, that's why they talk about releasing consciousness in AI and things like that, because consciousness in AI is basically like them being able to harness that virtual principle to a very high degree, and then having like a way stronger hold, you know, as far as like, you know, I guess you could say informationally and things like that, which is a very, very, very powerful thing, right? Because if you're any kind of administration, You'd want to keep track of things, use logic, make sense out of people, because a lot of people lost in their feelings, especially when you're like a people teamed up, as far as you know, a team and trying to take on different challenges and things of that nature. So that's also important, real shit. So when the air gets pressured and things like that, as far as when we go to logic, then what we logically interpret as far as our perception, because perception I feel like is also like a logical aspect. There's a lot of things involved in it. So that word in general, I would say there's a lot of things involved in it, and the positionary planets and things like that, and whatever gave, well, everybody saw their own, everybody had their own word for it, but people were basically pointing to the same things, because even like, like communicating on body language, that's like way deeper, for example, and I'm actually gonna get there, real shit. So then we make fucking practicality, we make some ground and shit like that. You gotta understand, this is just basically pressures that all things around us in existence to create for something, for even to come in to creation and things like that. Like, yeah, real shit. So you make logic, you get practical on that shit from you know, being able to fire, see it, from emotionally, you know, having your individuality, then your feelings, then you logically interpret it, and then you turn it into something to practical. Some people call that sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, whatever, right? So that'd be like one correspondence in between that. You got so many different alchemies that can be made, because your mind is a parameter as well. So your whole body is a section which you could make astral energies with. Like you're a factory of these things. So when you see the Wizard of Oz, when you see all these you know, movies about these supernatural powers and then having a team, yeah, that's supposed to be like you. That's supposed to be, you're supposed to be doing that shit. You're not supposed to be sitting back trying to, you know, complain and things like that, because this is why we need to understand how to divide our mind and understand the different aspects of the self. And as far as how you map it out, everybody has a different mapping system and things like that. And so you have to remember to be objective as well in this nature and this type of pursuit, because you can get lost, and you can look at it as a waste of time. And it depends what's your intention when you're getting into it, because you might logically interpret your desires as well, which is basically Mars, the Martian, which is basically your root chakra and things like that. And then you might destroy yourself with those transformative aspects, because there we have the polarity of Aries, you have the polarity of Scorpio, and those things are basically just different polarities to describe to you a replication or basically a meaning, a speculative meaning of what that area is. But everybody's idea of that as a spirit, you being an individual wheel within this wheel, you have a different idea of seeing that perspective. So we didn't all come see this thing. It's like some of our heads are in our dicks, some of our heads are in our lungs, always trying to equalize shit. Some of our heads is in the hormonal system. Like you just like, you know, just like certain things, certain sensual things that shoot up your hormones and things like that. Yeah, real shit. Things that shoot up your hormones and things like that. So you gotta be able to understand your Mars aspect, your root chakra, so you don't transform yourself in negative ways, where you can actually transform yourself in very positive ways. This is why, obviously, they take over all these aspects as far as the perspective and the feeling, or what you should be having in that version of it in the world. As far as, let's say, jewelry, as far as celebrities show you, those are not necessarily bad things either, but people get lost in polar shifts and things like that. So yeah, so first of all, yeah, I'm about to get that money. Second of all, yeah, I'm about to get that spiritual prosperity too. So it don't even matter which one you get lost in. People just look at like good and bad. They're still so good. They've been ruling the world for the whole time, and clearly they've been doing so and called bad. Where black people want to be like, oh, we want to get black, we want to get 2 acres and a mule, and then you got some Sudanese people saying, nah, brother, the pale Arabs are cool. I mean, the pale Arabs are pretty cool, but you know, Negro, you gotta have some respect for yourself and actually, you know, go deep with your shit. You can't be, you know, too stuck in tradition and things like that. So, man, people get lost up in this world. But this world is a difficult world because you get lost in all attack angles and things like that. And so we be too busy putting our cap on things. So, but man, life is an interesting place because, you know, at the same time, it could become a beautiful act as well. However you believe your religion is, you know, what do you call it? Becoming a mental crutch for you to, you know, walk on and things like that, and you not correlate your chakras how you want to correlate your chakras for you to express or, you know, experience what you came here to experience. So you don't want to get lost in somebody else's structures and someone else's patterns. This is why desire is one of the most powerful advertising forces in the world, one of the most powerful industries in the world. Like, you literally will not stop sex, literally, from all aspects, from all levels of the world. Yeah, it's literally like everywhere. All it is the joining act of two energies. It's basically just fusion. The same way you make a star is the same way you make fusion and things like that. The same way you make the earth is the same way you make fusion and things like that. So all these things are just things that we hydrogen collide within ourselves as well. So it's not nothing new that we can't experience. Like, it's just basically, you basically just have it turned down because you were thought to shut it the fuck down. And so you already got these powers, you already got these energies, but we just be playing it out in different nature just based on what somebody put us in the tradition or put us in the culture in order to for us to cultivate that as a form of cult. Because cults are not bad either. I'm not hating on cults either, yo. I mean, y'all can hit me up, pay me well, I'll come teach. But the point is that basically you get it. It's basically a map of the world and shit like that, but it's speculative and it plays out objective, which is dope because once you have your own mapping system, it doesn't matter what you refer to these things is, and all these things is alchemies as well. So when you're frustrated, that's a certain alchemy. That the word is a motherfucking alchemy, bro. The word is an alchemy. So when you throw out a word internally, bro, imagine what the fuck you're doing externally. You're pushing out all these waveforms, these conscious energy. You're becoming Goku. You're like pushing out light waves. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's some hard shit. Like, in what realm of reality do you not want to do that speculatively and objectively, bro? You don't think people are gonna feel that? People are gonna feel that shit from you. So when you're with God, you're with God, yo. That's some real shit, ain't it? So the point is, as well, you gotta get that money. You gotta get that money. Gotta get that money. But the point is, the sixth house. Well, not even the sixth house. That's Virgo, but that's dope too. Because, you know, the sailors used to use Virgo. The sailors used to use Virgo as well. They would be just like traveling. They'd just be like, ah yeah, look, a specker. Ah, the moon's traveling through specker again. Ah, look, boys. Ah, it's that way. You know, you keep a map with you. You do what you gotta do. You can bring your little compass with you, and you're good. Compass is also an internal, really an allegory, because we made it as a feeling, as a thought form before it became externally. So that's really an allegory as well for the internal, north, east, west, south, and it's all really the same thing at the end of the day. And so then we have the sixth house. I keep saying the sixth house. We have what they refer to as Jupiter, which is just basically two polarities of wisdom. So it's the sacral chakra, what they call it, creativity, being able to create, basically like create a balance, things like that. Spirituality, as far as being able to play that externally and internally, as far as the form of wisdom that you display, that you believe in either externally or from the world, as far as worth gaining, as far as, yeah, this is what's transformative, because they're both mutable signs, but they're both like rejuvenated from the right brain. So think about all the things that logically happen that we're told to, that shut down our right brain functions, our chakras, and that becomes like some kind of war in there and things like that, and you can't even correlate yourself right. So they got a lot of different witchcraft and things like that, but they just literally beat the mind with words and shit like that. And so another way you could do it, because once you cultivate all these chakras, you take over all these locations, you're able to take over all the pillars in the world. And so they're playing out the role of like shaman kings, but, you know, it's like dark shaman kings and things like that. So as far based on their families owning intellectual properties and words like that, you don't know what kind of libraries they have. But at the same time, though, you got the real shit at the end of the day. Once you connected. Once you understand this shit, you will create a map and you can project anything you really want to, and things like that. It just becomes a matter of you tuning into that frequency and you understanding your own virtues and principles and how you corresponded with the external reality and what made you you know, fragment yourself in certain areas and not know how to do, or just produce certain things that you don't necessarily need to go through, that you'd be able to go through the process of life, or the process of expansion and contraction from a wisdom aspect, understand the logic of something. That's why, like, yeah, that's why it's a real shit. You gotta understand that wisdom, real motherfucking shit. It's a big bird right there. Yeah, real shit. Because you gotta understand that wisdom, that separation. You gotta understand that Jupiter energy, whatever they refer to as Zeus. You know what I'm saying? Just reigning. To me, that's like reigning through the different aspects, almost like being able to oversee with the morality, with the long wisdom, as far as like because a lot of people use morality, so you gotta understand that religion also run that as a pillar and things like that, and they're able to replicate that realm and reality in their nature, and that becomes one of the pillars that they rule y'all over, which you can see is working pretty damn well, ain't it? Religion is working real well. But I mean, people get lost in these things, and sometimes people are already so attached to these things and things like that. So from when you were a kid, and it comes in all types of thought forms and things like that, other than religion as well, because it's just brain chemistry and you producing certain emotions, frustrations, anger, worry, doubt, fear, or abundance, opulence, excellence, manifestation. You know, did I say excellence? All that shit, all this shit are just different energies that you can create in your life and be able to expand the knowledge and expound upon that in reality. So that's like Jupiter energy, let's just say, in the world and things like that. You can look at that, it's color orange and things like that. It's an optimistic orange. So I feel like the light past 6 also like corresponds to Jupiter and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's all about interpretation and you being able to play out and see an external aspect and create a name for it and create like a third dimensional example, as far as like I was saying, as far as the directions that you're supposed to know how to move your spirit in, so you don't get lost in the logic externally of the world and things like that. So you're supposed to be able to understand how to create angles and be intelligent, you know, because that's you having the sword, that's like you have the fastest gun, the metal, Mercury, and being able to, you know, shoot and understanding. Well, I think iron is like Mars. But anyways, who cares? But anyways, same shit. Who gives a fuck? We understand what we're pointing to as far as when I use these words. Some of these Masons use that. You could just use logical words. You could just use modern day terms, because we're all pointing to the same space and we're all trying to get at something. But that something is like different, you know, from everywhere. But that's why you should have compassion and, you know, love for other beings, like being empathetic, being compassionate, be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And if you're a 2 as well, then it's like, yeah, real shit. You'd be compassionate and you'd be intuitive. You would want to feel other people. So it's like certain things you'd just be able to understand rather than more than other people, and you would be able to build on that energy and things like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna do 1 to 6 today, and that's it pretty much. So, you know, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Yeah, I'm gonna infinitely see you on the next motherfucking video. You better believe it.